In this video help, what we're going to be doing is addressing the user-defined fields and what the purpose is of these fields. During the development of the application, there is a limited number of fields that should be put into an application so that they don't have useless information provided for an individual client. Now, in that respect, if there's an option to add fields for an individual client that are unique to that client, what we did is create user-defined fields. And I'm going to click on this to show you what it does. User-defined fields are used to identify specific items that are unique to this client. So these records that are in here are for the individual ID 1. They will not be repeated for other individual contacts. So what you're doing is you're actually adding a UDF title to a field. So if you click in there, you can type in whatever you want. If there's one that's a little extra length and you want to have a little bit more space, there's a third one here. Now you can put as many different records in here as you want. There's 3 per record for the title and 3 inputs. What's an input? An input is the actual description under the title that affects whatever is missing in the database, where you need data fields to cover it for this unique field for this particular client, like John Smith. In this case, John Smith is ID 1, and what we're going to do is, you can see, if there was a reason for adding a field in here, it might be that this guy has maybe a problem with paying his bills, and you could put it into the UDF, and he's a late payer, for example, and he's been 30 days plus on paying his bills. Now keep in mind that this application has the ability to look at individuals who have unique things that you need to know about them, and you can keep that data within the UDF fields where it's not shown in the outside here, where if somebody's looking over your shoulder that shouldn't be looking at the UDFs, you protect that by having the UDF assignments all put into that one location as far as the data that you're using. Now, if you look at the UDFs, you'll see that there's also a portal that you can go to. If you want to do a search on certain different types of titles or data across the board for all clients, what you can do is go to the portal. When you do a record search within here, realize that you cannot use these fields in the actual Popover to do searches. You have to come here to do that. And this is true of anything that's at a multi-line field where there's multiple different records. You have to come to the portal to do the search. So in this instance, when you come in here, you can go ahead and click on the option, and we've talked about this several times so far. You go into find mode, you pick some kind of a title or some kind of an input, and then you go ahead and put it in any field. It doesn't make any difference which one it is, because it's going to look for all the fields when you go into there. So for example, if I went into find mode and I put title, which is in one of the records, and I do the search, go in and say menu option, perform the find, it's going to find the one record that has that data. It's going to tell me it's in John Smith's record and it's item number 2. Now if I want to go ahead and see if there's any more records, I can go to the list view, and you'll see that in the list view it only showed one record. Of course there's only one record in there, but nevertheless any records that had the word title in it, in this case like this one or this one or this one, it would bring up all that data for all the different users. And so you would be able to see all the records that related to that particular client and the information for them. And you can see over here it's John Smith here, and it's item, or I should say ID number 1. And if I wanted to go next, I could go next, go back to the portal, and be able to see that portal for that particular record. So if I wanted to make any changes or whatever, I can go back and I can come in here and I can make those changes in the user-defined fields. I can add or reduce, and in some cases, if I want to, in the portal, I can also delete a record if there's cause for deleting a record. Now keep in mind, you can have one individual record for each title and input if you wanted to, or you can have one title, or one title that would cover several different fields about the same subject. So for example, if it's a late payer, I could put something else in here or something else in here that relate to late pay, and understand better what this client has as far as an issue with late pay. It may mean that you have to follow this guy up for everything, or he has to pay in advance for everything. It really is those kinds of things that you're looking for that the database can help you to track and find. Okay, let's go back. In the next video, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be covering the client billing and client payments. The reason for this is we put them together so we can understand better in this screen by putting them here instead of having to go out and do the navigation to find the different things we're looking for. It makes it clearer and easier to access because the records that we're looking for are for this particular client that we're in right now. And it's the same thing for payments. So let's go ahead and go to that video next, and we'll learn about billing and payments.